Hi guys, my name is Sean,
My name's Luis.
and this is Gearheads. So on the last episode, we talked about the creation of Chevy, the C1, and the C2. Now in this one, we're going to be talking about the C3 and the C4. Both of them are extremely important cars to the Corvette's history, but yeah, let's just dive right in. Um, so the C3 got both praise and criticism for its radical design, its purpose, and the driving dynamics. Expectations were huge when the model launched because Zora Arkus Duntov, who created, I think he helped create the C1 too, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, he was working with them, and then he created the Grand Sport.
Yes.
That we know.
Right. Well, they were also responsible for they're pretty much the creation of Corvette.
Yeah.
In general. So Duntov and Billy Mitchell, they were the second, like we said before, the second generation Corvette designers. They had just built a hugely successful, powerful, and respected Stingray Corvette. Even today, the Stingray is regarded as one of the best Corvettes ever made. But the pressure was on. You had to do, in order to do a appropriate C2 successor, the pressure and the expectations were just through the roof because of how much praise was through that thing. And it wasn't even not just the fact that they built a really good car, is the fact that they also, in the time period that it was in the mid to late 60s, they saw the rise of the muscle car. You had Pontiac GTO, the Chevy Chevelle. Yeah. You had, and then the Ford Mustang. Can't forget that. But there was from competitors like Pontiac, Buick, Chevy themselves. They were developing powerful and inexpensive cars with a stellar straight line performance with it. Because, like we said before, kids just wanted to start.
Yeah, they wanted to start racing.
They wanted to start racing.
Bet money on their cars so
exactly.
They can win money.
Exactly. So, along with all this, the C3 started development with the C2's mid-cycle refresh. Frank Winchell was Chevy's engineering director. He worked with Duntov and Mitchell to set out to produce an idea that would eventually be the C3. All three of them agreed that the front engine layout needed to be gone. So, like I said before, they wanted to do mid-engine Corvettes for a long time. This is in the 60s. Actually, before that, because it was through the mid-cycle refresh.
Yeah.
So this was in the 50s. Hell, this is, well, no, still the 60s, right?
The C2?
Yeah, right?
The C2 was, the 60s. Because it was 63 when they last made it.
Yeah.
The C2. So, yeah, 58 to 60, 63, I believe. Maybe a little bit. I can't remember.
That's forever ago. So, Winchell, he based his concept, okay, so Winchell and Mitchell and Duntov worked on a car, and then Winchell, he worked on his car. I'm probably butchering his name, but that's just what it looks like.
Duntov?
No, Winchell.
Could be Winchell.
Or Winchell.
We'll call him Frank Weenie.
Ballpark Franks. But anyways, he based his concept on a rear engine design that had similar styling that was taken from the Porsche 911 at the time, and also along with the current at the time Chevy Corvair. Duntov and Mitchell, they based their mid-engine design on the Mako Shark concept. Styling elements included a pointed nose, a steeply raked roofline, and a flat ducktail rear end. all of which made the concept look more aggressive and futuristic. Um, Despite the desire to create a mid-engine Corvette, the lack of appropriate mid and rear engine parts that were compatible were lacking. The weight distribution issues, they couldn't figure it out at the time. And most importantly, uh, the money prevented the C3 from truly being what the designers envisioned it to be. Um, Another thing that probably happened is showed the Chevy executives, and so like, the Chevy executives looked at it and was all like, "I
hate you.
hate you." So unfortunately, the front end design, along with the chassis and independent rear suspension, both carried over from the C2 generation. Um, uh, Billy Mitchell, he ended up hiring a new designer, Larry Shinoda. As far as I know, it's no relation to Mike Shinoda.
It's no relation?
As far as I
I
know.
don't think it is.
just saying shit, bro. The resulting concept would be called the Mako Shark 2 because they had to scrap the Mako Shark. That was mid-engine. A design that could have taken on a mid-engine design layout if the process towards the mid-engine was to move forward. So they were really, really pushing to try and get that mid-engine vet, but as we know, it never happened.
Can you imagine if they would have done that though?
We'll put some pictures up on the screen. But to me, the Mako Shark concept didn't really look all that good.
No. I feel like 2.2 different.
Yeah, it's 100%. I mean, like I said, C8 is. I think that was. I mean, as much as people wanted to do it more back then, I feel like this was an appropriate time.
But I wonder, were they the only ones thinking of doing this?
Yeah, Again, it begs the question: did the buyers of the car, did they want a mid-engine car? You know, because a lot of people that I've heard from nowadays is they were saying that they wanted a mid-engine vet. A magician. A magician.
They wanted a magician car.
Fucking bed. So, anyways, in 1965, a non-functioning concept was built and shown to the public to garner excitement about the car coming out. It was shortly followed by a fully functional version. After a short hiatus, though, a more reasonably designed second-run concept would be introduced, and which provided a more realistic version of the soon-to-be C3 design. The Shark generation of Chevy Corvette that was about to launch, but not before production was delayed 1 year. Originally targeted for 1967, but of course they couldn't figure out the design, so there's a lot of issues on there, and they had to push it back a year. So anyways, with all those issues, eventually the C3 debuted in 1968, and it closely resembled the second-run Mako 2 concept shown in public in 1965, so 3 years later. Later on, that design would end up being what we know as today as the Coke bottle design for some cars, which is kind of weird to think about. Like, I don't know if that was the Corvette itself, like pushing that design, like starting that,
right?
Or if that was just the
thing that was going on
back
there.
The thing to do back then. I don't know.
Like, oh, I don't want a Coke bottle, I want a Pepsi bottle.
Damn. Whose side are you on, Coke or Pepsi? Naturally, the Corvette was produced with a fiberglass body. The 2-speed power glide transmission that was in the previous generation, gone. It was replaced by a 3-speed turbo hydramatic automatic transmission. And then a 3-speed and a 4-speed manual transmission was also available. So
what do they mean by hydromatic?
that was just the name. It's from
Well,
what
hydra is
water.
water.
I don't know. And then turbo is a turbo. So
Damn.
last I checked, you don't put turbos on transmissions.
Oh shit.
So that's the name.
It was run by water.
Oh shit, bet. Instead of turbos running on oil, it was running on water. Bet.
That'd be dope.
Corvette convertibles could be had with a removable hardtop, while Corvette T-tops, they had removable panels and rear windows, which I did not know. I was reading this, and that's kind of cool. And it got me kind of excited because I'm like, oh, my C3 that has a removable window, and then later on it discusses what happened. Another thing was called a sugar scoop design. That replaced the fastback, and what it ended up having was the vertical rear window. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this, but it has that rear window with those two buttresses running down that. That's what they call the sugar scoop, which I don't know why, but that's what they were called.
Sugar, man.
Damn, bro. Take the car, scoop some sugar.
We gotta get some sugar for your neighbor, you know?
Damn. That's not the car to do that in. There were plenty of engine choices. The 327 cubic inch small block came with your standard 300 horsepower. Standard 300.
Would you like one of
I
those?
would like that, yeah. And the L79, which had, it had 350 horsepower. The 427 cubic inch big block offers included the L36 with 390 horsepower, the L68, which had 400 horsepower, the L88, which had 430 horsepower, and the L71, making 435 big ass strong horses.
Oh, crap.
God, that'd be lovely. I wish I had that.
For real. I don't even care. I mean, I want the 800 horsepower, but if I can at least get 400 after that,
Honestly,
I
though.
would take it.
Honestly. Like that 6.4, that Hemi.
Yeah.
435 horsepower, or you get the 6.2 supercharged with 700 plus.
Which was cheaper, though? Which one can I afford?
Neither.
None.
Neither.
None.
So if you please, for about the same price of a Starbucks coffee, you can help these two poor ass people get Hellcats.
We really appreciate it.
We really appreciate it. For fitment and some styling points, the C3 was equipped with a, at least the big blocks variants had a very sizable increased hood scoop, or not hood scoop, hood bulge, to accommodate the larger engine larger engine sizes. So that's pretty cool, I guess, because I mean, I don't think I've seen one before. Let me put a picture up. But yeah, I don't think I've seen them. I've seen the ones with the small bulges on the hood.
Yeah.
AKA what is on my.
Yeah, what do you have?
I'm gonna refer to mine a lot in this period. This because I have one, so I can. It doesn't run, doesn't drive, doesn't even start.
Needs a paint job.
Needs a paint job. Needs everything. But hey, that thing only has 32,000 original miles on it, so
It's gonna be like that.
it's gonna probably stay like that.
For another 10 years.
Yeah, before I can afford to. So for about the same price,
you can help him out.
not only the Hellcats, but my C3 can get running.
For only $1 a day.
The same price of an Arizona iced tea.
Oh, that's funny. That's pretty good.
Um, Notable features included windshield wipers that were hidden under a vacuum-operated panel, concealed exterior door handles, vacuum-operated pop-up headlights, functional fender vents for the engine, uh, a rear defroster, AM and FM radio, air conditioning. You gotta have all that power. Actually, in all honesty, if you have that much horsepower, you just keep
Roll
going.
down the windows.
You got 42 air conditioning, 2 windows down at 40 miles an hour. Disc brakes were kept instead of them doing the stupid drum brakes. Oh god. They had leather seats and a speed warning indicator.
Are you going too fast?
I guess.
I can just imagine somebody just yelling, "Warning! Warning!"
Well, no. Okay, there was this really cool thing that Alexis's car has, the Grand Cherokee, and it knows, like if you set a route or something like that in the navigation.
Oh yeah. Well, if you look up on like Google or anything, it tells you how much you should be going, and it tells you how much you want to go.
Well, the car tells you it's the difference.
Like it just notifies her, like does it?
No, it tells you the speed limit is 30 miles an hour on this road.
Slow the fuck down.
Down. It just cracked me up when it happened.
That's funny. I gotta hear that one.
Another thing, in 1969, the Stingray named returned with some chrome style badging. That's about it.
That's
That's literally about it. The 1970 to 72 C3s continued to see small developments, which ultimately made the Vette a better vehicle, though build quality was reported to still be a major concern. In 1962, it was clear a change was on the horizon, but staying with the 70s, new engine options included in 1970 was the small block LT1. It featured a Holley four-barrel carbureted 4-bolt. It produced 370 horsepower. 1971 saw stricter emission regulations. This, in my opinion, not only killed the Corvette, but it killed most muscle cars at the time. Fucking government with their emission standards and shit.
God. We don't have that here, do we?
No, but there's still emission standards. It's just here, it's not as heavy.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like in California, if your car has to go through emissions to do that. Here, it doesn't.
We'll stay here.
Yeah, I think we'll stay here. Even though the fire is like consuming most of the town, I think we're fine.
Plus we have a Corvette.
It's fine. I got a Corvette, a couple Jeeps. Fine. Fine. So because of the stricter emission regulations, the engine outputs and horsepower and torque just started going way down. The LT1 notably dropped from the reported 370 horsepower to 330. That's a 50 horsepower drop. That doesn't sound like a lot.
That's a lot.
But that's a lot. While the LS5 saw the horsepower ratings fall from 360, they fell from 365 horsepower from the original 390 that it was sitting at. The ZR1 and ZR2 racing packages were made available to the public. The ZR1 featured the LT1 small block engine, and the ZR2 was paired with an LS6 making 425 horsepower. Both included suspension upgrades, an upgraded radiator, and special close ratios in the 4-speed transmission. And then emissions further choked the engine options for 1972. The ZR2, that package was discontinued because the LS6 had to be discontinued. They couldn't advertise a high horsepower engine if it wasn't high horsepower. It's fucking emissions. It's telling me. The 3-speed manual transmission was also dropped in favor of the sport 4-speed manual for the 1972 model year. 1973 C3 came along with some very significant changes. It would be the 20th anniversary of the Corvette, and a mid-cycle refresh was in order. Through the front-end design has not changed, and iconic pointy chrome nose that was part of it. Those were replaced with safer urethane bumpers, and here it is. The rear window that was removable is now fixed. So 5 years prior to my Corvette, they made the window fixed, which kind of sucks. I really wish that it was still removable. Kind of cool. In 1974, a full change to impact bumpers on both the front and the back of the car happened. An upgraded radiator, automatic transmission, and power steering pump were all fitted to the 1974 models. Come on, you slow-ass computer. Radial tires, steel beams in the doors, lap and shoulder belts, safety bumpers were all equipped to meet increasing federal safety standards, because by this time, I guess there was a lot of accidents with vehicles, and nobody really had regulations on safety equipment.
Well, yeah, they still don't put the airbags in any of the
Fuck
vehicles.
no, bro. Mine's...
Until the C4.
When was that?
When did they put the airbags?
Yeah.
Probably 86, around there.
See, and that's weird because my 87 and 89 Cherokees don't have airbags. Sorry, 87 Comanche. Alexis.
They don't have?
They don't have airbags.
Because Chrysler was behind its time.
It wasn't behind. It was in the good years still. What do you mean? Cabin noise was deadened. Provide a better comfort while traveling, which I don't know why you would travel in a Corvette, but people did.
You still do.
Still do. I would.
The C8, yeah.
The C8, yeah, that's probably about it. More that further solidified its place as the developing Grand Tourer rather than hardcore sports car with muscle. They were making it a luxury car more so than sports car, but
they're like drifting away from what the beginning the goal was to make it a race car.
Exactly, but that's weird because they tried to make it a race car and ended up being a luxury car in the first generation. Second generation, that's a race car, and I'm gonna be honest. I think it's because of these fucking emission regulations.
Yeah.
They continued to erode this mentality that was set in 1974. The base small block L46 V8, it coughed out fucking 9. God. Ooh. It only made 190 horsepower. The L82 small block managed slightly better with 250 horsepower, while the one and only big block option, the LS4, pumped out 270 horsepower out of a big block. Yeah, that's nothing. That's awful. The Corvette offered an increasingly luxurious driving experience with a good amount of comparable performance, I guess. Despite its struggles, sales numbers were actually better than they've ever been, even though it's less race car. In 1975, it marked the beginning of the true transitional years for the third generation Corvette. It was the first Corvette to have a catalytic converter fitted to the car. First year that the true dual exhaust setup was not equipped. And the first year a big block engine was not offered at all. 1975 was the last year that the convertible models were produced in this generation. So
So they brought back the small block because in the second generation they discontinued making.
exactly. Well, they didn't discontinue making it. They
They
just
just stopped.
they stopped offering.
Yeah.
They offered less and less back
Because
then.
they wanted more power.
Exactly. But now with emissions and stuff and
Everything got screwed up.
everything got screwed. So, and also because of the oil crisis and stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
More importantly, Zora Arkus Duntov officially retired from GM, and Dave McClellan took over the reins. Even though the C3 would be a decade old after the 1977 model year, uh, major regulatory changes had all but been neutered for the iconic sports car. 1975 to 77 saw over 130,000 units sold, with 1977 selling its 500,000. How do you say that?
500,000. 500.
With
1,000.
Corvette number 500,000 rolling off the assembly line. So, I mean, it was selling still pretty good.
And well, I'm assuming it wasn't that expensive.
No,
Was it still pretty expensive?
no, not really. I think it wasn't until like
But you say if they were making a luxury vehicle then.
I think it was a couple years later, if not in the 80s sometime, they started offering them at $10,000. So they're still below 10 grand back then. But also only two engine options were available: the ZQ3 330 cubic inch small block, which produced 165 horsepower, and the L82 small block, which produced 205 horsepower. These emission regulations were screwing a lot.
I can actually say that my truck is faster than the Corvette.
Well, I don't know about that.
Bro.
Aerodynamics, bro.
I rolled when the windows down. With the airflow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I
It'd
could.
be pretty even.
I don't know.
You think the Corvette was still in?
I don't know. Maybe a 1977 with 205 horsepower, the 165.
That's what I'm saying.
That's probably the only Corvette you could beat.
Hey, I can still say that I can be the Corvette.
That's a good point. Good point. All right, fair enough. They also added a new ignition system, fuel tank emission control system, and a light-on warning system. So which the normal warning lights that you get on a dash, they finally put those in. For 1976, really, bro, while we're recording. For 1976, the Cal induction hood was eliminated. Steel floor pans were added, aluminum wheels were added, and two rear bumper assemblies were available with different Corvette lettering. Just dumb, I guess. Power steering, power brakes, and new steering wheel were offered. This is like, damn, they're just like top notch here. Like probably one of the longest running Corvette generations, and they're here trying to live up to the C2 name, and they did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Now emissions screwed it, and now it's kind of just basic.
Like you said, they had to make it a luxury vehicle, so they're upgrading everything inside, exterior, stuff like that, to make it a luxury vehicle.
I guess. But the unfortunate thing in 1977 as well is the Stingray badge was removed and replaced with the racing flags emblem that we see on Corvettes nowadays.
Yeah.
Despite increasing costs to buy a Corvette, which was up to $10,000 for fully equipped models, sales numbers still soared over the previous years. So
it was pretty good.
I guess so. It couldn't have been that bad.
Well, everybody, like, there's people that like moms and stuff like that maybe were. You don't think so?
No. I still think it'd be like.
Well, I mean, you don't. I see more women driving luxury vehicles than I do men.
But at the same time, though, you also see more men driving Corvettes than women.
That's true.
Just like you see more women driving full-size SUVs than you do men. I'm not being racist. I'm not being racist or sexist.
I wasn't being racist.
I'm not being sexist.
More white women.
There we go. I could add that shit in there, which is true. If you're being honest, more white women drive like Ford. No, the
Explorer.
The Excursion's dead. What's the new one? Oh, it's not the Explorer. Later. Anyway, back to the Corvette. The economy was officially recovering from the oil crisis.
Expedition.
Ford Expedition. Ford Expedition. There it is. The Corvette was returning to a record high sales numbers. David McClellan had not fully gotten involved with continuing the evolution of the C3 Corvette, but subtle changes continued, marching the Corvette forward into 1978 and 79. 1979 was the Corvette's 25th anniversary, but they were made as 78 models, which were weird in my opinion.
They were made as...
Well, no, okay, sorry. They were made. I guess they were made in 78, but I think they were for the 79 model year. You know.
Well, the 78, 79 was the 25th anniversary, right?
Yeah.
Not 78.
Right. I think.
Well, maybe they were just producing them on 79. Release of 78.
That made no sense exactly what you said. Producing
Oh,
79
shoot.
and releasing
I went back in time.
But they, for the 25th anniversary, such as the silver anniversary edition, was offered to buyers with, but was a little more than a special silver over gray paint scheme with a pinstripe. Special anniversary badging, sports mirrors, aluminum wheels. That's about it. Like, it just looked different, I guess. Here's where mine comes into play. An Indy 500 pace car version of the Corvette was also created as part of the celebration and featured an opposite black over silver paint scheme from the Silver Anniversary Edition. Front and rear spoilers, special interior colors, and revised leather seating were part of the Corvette pace car. I will put pictures of what it's supposed to look like, what mine looks like, and maybe do some in-depth of what it's like to sit in one of them. So, this is what I can say about this car. Yes, this one in particular is in rough shape, but as it sits right now, I don't have much headroom, but I have enough. Another thing is these seats are really comfortable. Yes, they're not in the best of conditions, but they hold you planted. As for room, I have no room. I mean, it's not something that I would hate driving. It's definitely tight, it's compact, but not nearly as bad as you would think it is. You do have other features in here. I mean, this thing came standard with a CB radio. This is the pace car. This is not the silver anniversary. So you have the Chevy 350 small block V8 mated to the I think this is a 3-speed automatic transmission. I'd have to assume so. with this only saying 1, 2, 3, neutral, reverse, park. But I mean, this is not something that I would hate driving. The only problem that I would have is if, you know, you hit a bump and if the shocks are not good, then, you know, I'm going up and I'm hitting the T-top. That's another thing. These do have T-tops. I'm pretty sure I can get a couple pictures with that. But I mean, other than that, this is a good car. Like I said, I would not hate driving this. It's just it is compact, and as someone who's 6'4", it is kind of a tight fit, but it's not awful. Okay, so with the T-tops off, a lot more room. Yeah, it's night and day. Granted, you do feel pretty crowded by the door still. At the same time, though, you have a much better feeling with these T-tops off. And I don't know, it's definitely different because, like I said before, I'm not a huge fan of convertibles, but to me this isn't technically a convertible, but it is at the same time. No, I like it. I would not mind driving around with the T-tops off most of the time. But all Corvettes in '78 featured the new fastback design and it replaced the sugar scoops. Why are you laughing at me?
I'm not.
There you are.
I was just gonna say
Back
like,
in time.
No, I was just gonna say like you're only gonna be able to show him the inside now. It looks like when you sit in it because you can't drive it. It just made me laugh. It doesn't run.
Maybe one day, bro.
10 years
Fuck. The sugar scoop was done. The new instrument gauge cluster, glass T-top panels, wider tires, a revised. Oh, that's also kind of cool. In '78, a revised anti-theft system was also equipped in, which is weird. I didn't think they actually made that shit until recently.
They no.
Like '90s or something. I thought that's when they came out.
Yeah, it did. Well,
or at least the good ones.
The good. I was gonna say I'm pretty sure they were able to bypass. They're able to bypass the '91. It's pretty simple.
New ones.
This one.
New ones though.
Yeah.
That's son of a bitch.
What?
1979 saw standardized air conditioning, AM/FM radios, tilt, and telescoping steering wheels. So, you know what telescoping steering wheels are?
You can look at the stars.
I'm Luis, and I'm fucking funny. Telescoping steering wheels is where the car, where the steering wheel, like where it connects to the steering column, is smaller, and it kind of comes out like a cone almost. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. So those were added. The chrome window trim was added around there. That replaced the black trim that was there. Tungsten halogen headlights were also added. Seat upgrades were added, and the other options from the anniversary edition. See, it is '78. From the anniversary edition, '78 cars were also made optional. The base small block L48 produced 185 horsepower, while the L82 produced 220, which could be exclusively paired with a close ratio 4-speed manual or the upgraded Hydromatic 3-speed automatic, which mine has the 3-speed automatic, and it has the L82. So it has 280 horsepower.
Hey, bro.
That's, in all honesty, I mean, it's not bad, I guess, but like, when my soccer mom Grand Cherokee makes 15 more horsepower. I mean, Come on. 78 models received a small horsepower increases from 190 to 195, and then also to 25. Critics they praised the 78 and 79 Corvettes for the revised styling, their good performance for the day, while the special editions were a big hit among consumers. 78 Corvette turned out to be the best-selling Corvette of all time, despite the first ever $10,000 price tag. So, I don't know if that still holds true today, but
We'll do some research.
we'll do some research on it. I guess you'll hear in later episodes. In the late 70s, Corvettes have been a huge sale success for GM. But the C3 was going on 12 years in productions without a major refresh. And because of this, the last piece of the C3 Corvette puzzle was put in place by a final 1982 C3 Collector's Edition right before the next generation of C4 Corvette would start the next chapter. Economic woes and another fuel shortage again took their toll on what the Corvette would become in the next few years. In 1981, the production moved from St. Louis, Missouri to what is now Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is where we would pick up the C8 if we ever got one.
Small amount.
For the same price of an Arizona iced tea. The proving instrumental would be it'd be a better build quality that had been lacking in the C3 Corvettes for years. The early 80s Corvettes remain the same general sharp, aggressive shape as the previous previous years, but with a smoother, more rounded front fascia and grille. Weight loss was a priority to try and help with the fuel consumption. And it also used aluminum and other revised materials throughout the car to help with this. The Vette received a federally mandated 84 miles per hour speedometer. The Corvette flag emblem was removed from the fender, and a revised hood was fitted as well. In 1980, am I boring you?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. In 1980, engine options included the L48, which produced 190 horsepower, and the L82, which produced 230 horsepower. Fucking California's strict emissions laws only allowed residents a 305 cubic inch V8 producing 180 horsepower. Only available with an automatic transmission. Starting the next year, a single engine called the L81 replaced both the L48 and the L82, and it produced 190 horsepower with 280 foot-pounds of torque. I like the torque.
Yeah, but not the horsepower.
The horsepower would be better. It featured stainless steel exhaust manifolds with additional cooling from an electric fan. So not just the fan that you have on the crankshaft.
The crankshaft.
I want to say it's the crankshaft, but I could be completely wrong. I feel like it's the crankshaft. A computer control command was also introduced to help with emissions by controlling ignition timing and the air-fuel mixture within the engine. 1982 was the last year of the C3. It bridged the gap between the current car and the future C4 by sporting the C4's future fuel-injected 350 cubic inch L83 V8 engine. Produced 200 horsepower and 285 foot-pounds of torque. Unfortunately, a manual transmission was not available in the 1982 models, with a 4-speed automatic being the only option for it. Which, in my opinion, that's not bad. I mean, manuals and car is a car,
Right.
in my opinion. I can drive stick. I can drive automatic. Should be able to drive automatic from fucking the day you get out of the womb. But
Just come out and your dad's expecting you like, all
You
right,
need to drive-
take me to work.
you need to drive for yourself home from the hospital.
I can't afford
Fucking-
I can't afford gas right now.
2 hours old. Other 1982 additions included a in-tank electric fuel pump, so no more mechanical fuel pumps, which it's good. A redesign of the exhaust system with a cross-fire injection badging, which is fuel injection system that they used at the time.
Right.
The collector edition Corvette was a perfect farewell for the C3, offering a frameless lifting rear window, collector's edition emblems, special alloy wheels, a unique silver beige paint scheme, special exterior matching interior colors with leather upholstery, and a $20,000 price tag.
A lot of money.
A lot of money, but probably I wouldn't say the best Corvettes or models of the C3, but it's up there.
All right. Now we're gonna be talking about the C4, and in my opinion, I feel like the C4 is one of like the most underrated Corvettes.
Really?
I think so.
All right. Well,
Because
tell me what.
tell me why. Okay, so then they're looking for a different chassis than the C3, so they're trying to change the body style and stuff like that. The body panels and the bumpers were made mostly out of molding plastic instead of the fiberglass that they used to have.
Huh.
And excuse me, it had more streamlined style and reintroduced the convertible after the 11-year gap.
Where's your fancy hiatus word?
11-year hiatus.
There you go.
Okay, and then of course they wanted to depart from the C3 design, make it more futuristic sensibility. Okay, it was built with a uniframe combining critical elements of the car. So the windows, they were
A uniframe?
not unibody.
Okay.
They were replaced the coil springs with transverse fiberglass and mono leaf springs, and then
So they had leaf springs instead of the coil springs?
Yep.
What's with everyone in the 80s putting fucking leaf springs on everything?
they're popular. That's why.
It sucks. They're awful.
And of course, they didn't have the T-tops anymore, and it had
Sad day.
the Target tops, which I don't really like the Target tops, but
What are they?
the Target tops are pretty much
Picture.
picture right here. I'll show you a picture of that Corvette. It turns it into a convertible and then back to normal.
So is it like what convertibles are today?
Yeah.
So like the top that just comes.
Yeah, the top just comes up, and I don't like it. But
So I thought that's just what convertibles were always. Were convertibles just convertibles back in the
back in the day?
There
I mean,
was-
the C1, it wasn't convertible, and you didn't have a top.
Really?
Yeah. There was no tops. There were no hard tops.
So the term convertible that I know is not actually what it originally was.
True. I mean, it still is what it is today.
I mean, I guess, but like,
Yeah.
same thing, but different.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then, as we know, the C4, it came out in '84. The C3 was, the last production model was '82.
82.
So they had that gap because they were having some quality issues with the car, which I feel like that's just normal.
That's just normal with
with
Corvette, I
Corvette.
guess.
I feel like because
One year with between C2 and C3, 2
Yeah.
years with fucking 3 and 4.
But they Yeah, the quality issues, they just weren't wanting what they wanted it to be, so they didn't release it that year. So
Huh.
84 is when it came out. And then the C4's overhaul of the Corvette was a financial success, so it made pretty good money.
Okay.
Only $21,000, and they sold about.
So they stuck with that $20,000 price tag.
Yes, for a while. And then for this one, like I was saying, this Corvette is one of the cheapest Corvettes, I would say, because we'll talk about it here in a second.
Well, maybe not like new ones. Well, I'm saying like maybe, but at the same time, you take those old Corvettes, you can put it up to this.
What do you mean?
If you take like a C1 or a C2.
What I take?
No. So if you take a C2 and you put up against a C4, price tag wise, I think the C2 is gonna.
Oh yeah, C2 is more expensive.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, C2 is way more expensive. They sold over 50,000 of them in 1984.
What? Just trying to.
And then everybody was appreciating, how the way it looked. It had the digital LCDs, 16-inch 50 series Goodyear heated back tires, which
I don't think I've ever heard of those, but okay.
Put a picture right here. I like I wish they would bring back the white wall tires.
Really?
Yeah. Did you not like those?
I don't like white wall tires.
Why not?
I don't know. They work on some cars, but like
Like Lightning McQueen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Put a picture here.
Lightning McQueen.
Oh, yeah. It looks pretty cool.
I don't know. 50s cars, I think white walls work, but I think anything. I mean, some 60s cars, but I think anything like.
I guess I can't really picture it. Like I would have to actually see it.
Put white walls on a C8 and tell me that looks good.
Oh no, not a C8. No, but I'll have to picture it. See how it turns out. And then it was given the same engine as a 82 C3 small block, the L83 V8, the throttle bottle crossfire fuel injection. Put out about 205 horsepower and 290 foot-pounds of torque.
So a little power bump from maybe too.
Yeah.
Alright.
More power.
More power, baby.
And like I was telling you, these are one of the most affordable collectibles in the market because you can still buy one in pretty good condition for probably around like $10,000. They're not. Yeah, I know they were $21,000 back then, but people they just made a crap load.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah,
people,
that usually happens.
They made a crap load, and people just kept buying. You can buy one in really, really good condition for about $10,000. But here's the thing, though.
Okay.
If you buy one that doesn't look good or anything, like you can probably find one right now. You can probably go online and find one for like $1,000, simple. But the thing is, to fix it, it costs probably more than it should. Like originally, like cost you more than probably $5,000 to fix it. Because especially if it's been sitting there for long, gas wasn't made with ethanol back then. So if you leave it sitting there, then it's gonna start bubbling up and it's gonna mess everything up. So you have to change the fuel tank, the fuel pump, stuff like that. So it's turned out to be like most expensive to
fix or
yeah.
restore, I guess.
Yeah, restore. But that's why they're pretty affordable because you still see them around.
Right.
A lot.
I feel like it should be cheaper to fucking fix them because of how many were made. If you're saying.
Well, it's not the parts necessarily that are expensive; it's the labor. If you do it yourself, then probably
sure, bro. You're looking at $2,500.
Yeah, if you're looking.
Shit, that will make it.
We'll get one day, that'll be awesome.
Joint custody.
You get them on the weekends.
Get them every other weekend.
But But yeah, like every other thing, it's just made it pretty affordable. And everybody had, and this is the car, like you were saying. Not a lot of people use Corvettes to travel. This is the car that they would because it has some pretty good space to like put your stuff on there. And
I guess I've never really seen a C4. I mean, I've probably seen it. I just haven't.
I think it looks good.
I just don't think I've like looked into it. I guess you could say.
Ooh, put a picture right there. I think it looks good. I like the colors that they had for this C4. Um, they look pretty cool. And then around 85, 86, the engine was replaced by more powerful,
More powerful.
yeah, more fuel efficient, the L98, or the capability. I was gonna say capability. Like a good lady. The capability of giving 230 horsepower and 330 foot-pounds of torque. And they gave out a top speed of 150 miles per hour, which only back then it was matched by, the Buick Grand National.
Oh, I fucking love that car.
Yeah, and a modified Mustang.
Damn, fuck you, Ford. I'm gonna modify that shit to fix it.
Yeah. Suspension was softened by 25%, which, you know what that means. It's soft. So, well, it's not hard, it's soft.
Charmin on that bitch.
Ultra soft.
Ultra soft.
It means, it would stay on the floor more. So,
right.
It wouldn't be bouncing around. Sort of like my truck. Always be jumping around. It's annoying. But yeah, so since it's going to be a racing vehicle, they'd want to just stay on the floor as much as possible. In 1986, they sold the convertible in addition to the standard Corvette coupe.
So was there a coupe model offered before 86?
No. The coupe model was in 86.
Only 86, or is that when the first one?
No, this is when the first one came out. It's the Indy 500 pace car.
See, I feel like I should have seen this, and I probably have, but it's not coming to mind. Put a picture.
I can look it up right now.
All right.
You'll probably recognize it.
All right, but what throws me off about the C3 compared to the C4 is the wheel well bulges that come over it. They stick up a lot, and when you're, to be honest, it's really freaky sitting in a C3 because you don't see anything. You'd think like, oh, with that long ass hood, you'd see it. No, you don't see anything. And to me, that's terrifying. Like, I haven't driven one, but just to sit in one, it's kind of like you gotta really know where the front end of the car is. That's what I don't know. That's what's really weird to me.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that's with a lot of these Corvettes, I guess. The long nose, that was the standard. You knew that was a Corvette.
Yeah. The long ass nose.
That Corvette. Either that or Dodge Viper later on.
True. I'm telling you, bro, you can buy one of these pretty cheap. Fix it up. I think it'd be pretty good.
Make a good movie.
Alexis.
Make room for another car.
But yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
And then they introduced the passive. Passive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the passive anti-theft system, which we were talking about earlier. They're pretty easy to bypass. So, but it was still the 80s, so
they didn't really know.
Yeah, they didn't really know.
It's a new idea.
Yeah, but they also had the anti-lock brakes, electronic climate control, and third brake light.
Yep, 80.
They didn't think of anything else to add in the car. Looks like we're missing the brake light. Let's put one right down the middle.
That actually wasn't regulation until the 90s for a lot of cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's why if you look at a lot of the 80s compared to the 90s cars, like most notable for me to recognize is the Cherokees.
Mm-hmm.
You look at well, I guess it depends on, I guess, the circumstances of it. But if you look, actually, correction, sorry. The 80s had two brake lights. The 90 to 96 had a third brake light, but it was on the bottom of the window.
Okay, yeah.
And then in 97 to 2001, it was on top of the lift gate.
So people can see better.
Yeah, instead of being.
But what was
I-
what's the purpose of adding the third brake?
Because I think what it was is a lot of people were, I guess, couldn't tell the difference between running lights and brake lights. You gotta think like your running lights.
I guess.
I mean, I guess, but in all honesty, if you like honestly think about it and you look, you
brake
can
lights
tell,
are gonna be
they're
a
gonna
lot
be brighter. Yeah, 100% brighter. But I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
How would it work with like colorblind people? Would it still shine brighter?
Probably.
I'm not colorblind. If you're colorblind,
If you're
I'm
colorblind
not
for
trying to offend you.
for the price of an Arizona iced tea,
You can help us test this out.
send your money to 1-800 help us get a C8 Corvette.
In 1987, they put hydraulic lifters. Stop doing it.
Sorry.
And then they maxed the horsepower to 240. So that horsepower was getting higher and higher, man. They
Yeah.
lowered it on the C3 and
I know.
so you know what? Let's make this.
We made this bitch good again. Let's make the Corvette great again. They want Trump on this.
Wait, we're gonna go faster.
Faster, the lighter.
Well, more horsepower, baby.
More power, baby. More power, baby.
You could also get the B2K twin turbo conversion to the supercharge the engine and get 345 horsepower and 464.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
464 foot-pounds of torque.
for $20,000, man. Pretty cheap.
This is just fucking proving to me more that superchargers are better than turbos.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
They sound better too.
Preach. Which that made it one of the fastest cars at the time with the supercharger.
The supercharger.
What?
I can do that really good, and apparently you can't.
Well, it just like jumps at you because you used to it. And then a specially modified C4 known as the Callaway Sledgehammer.
What the fucking name?
Right? It reached a top speed of 254 miles per hour.
Holy shit.
That is fast.
Even by today's standards.
Oh yeah. And then the C4 Corvettes, the twin turbo engines, the collector cars, and only about 500 exist. So you got one.
Because they're shit.
Yeah.
Supercharger, baby. More power, baby.
And 1988, it was the 35th year anniversary. So this is when they came out. So yeah.
88 is 35, but 79 is 25. And I must have put something wrong. Because look, you say 1988 is the 35-year anniversary.
Well, no, it was
it was 78. 78 was
1978.
for the pace car and the silver anniversary. That was fucking down. Anyways, fucking.
It was 10 years from that.
Yeah, I know.
35. And that's when they came out with the triple white Corvette, which I'm assuming you can guess. White exterior, white interior, white tires.
Really?
Yep. And that's why they call it the triple white.
I'd hate to have that. It was dirty as shit. Real quick.
Well, you'd be taking care of it all the time, though.
You wouldn't drive it. I wouldn't drive that.
Well, no, it's a 35th year anniversary, bro.
I got a 25 in my driveway and die in the fucking drive.
Sure. And they made about 2,050 of those, and only 180 of them have manual transmissions. So, have you heard about that? The Doug Nash 4+3
No.
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 You did it.
Well, you obviously have to. I heard it is.
It was a transmission combined 4-speed manual with an automatic overdrive on 3 gears.
What?
The
So how does that work?
fourth, then I had to do a little bit of research on it. I still didn't understand it.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure
Four-speed manual with an automatic overdrive on 3 gears. That makes absolutely no sense to me.
What else are they discontinued?
Probably because it's complicated as shit. To me, so there's some manual transmissions that are 5-speed manuals, but technically all they are is a 4-speed with a fifth overdrive. Like the WJ. It was a 4-speed automatic transmission, but it had an overdrive gear. So in a sense, a 5-speed, but the overdrive gear was only for continue, like a, say you're going on a highway travel or something like that.
Right.
Continuous high speeds to drop the RPM lower.
I'll do a little bit more research on that.
That's just weird.
We'll talk about that. And then the ZF 6-speed manual replaced the 4+3 in 1989. The ZF really didn't have any improvements. There was no extra power or anything like that. It was just more expensive. So I don't know why they did that, but
Okay.
they just like the name probably.
Sounds
I got a ZF in mind if you get it. I got a dog in
so shit.
And then 1990. Yeah. What?
Okay, continue.
1990 to 1993, it came out with the ZR1 option package, and it sought out to be one of the fastest cars in the world.
If they achieve it.
Yes. It broke a record of 175 miles per hour. I mean, it wasn't as fast as the Callaway one.
Yeah. This is horseshit. This is false advertising.
It still broke a record of 175 miles per hour.
Didn't break a big record.
And it's one of the most expensive Corvettes at that point, going for $60,000.
They really jumped prices really quick.
Yep. The C4 saw refinements in the 1990s. They finally added those airbags that we were talking about earlier. So you can get in accidents all you want.
I don't think that's what it means, but okay.
An optional 200-watt 6-speaker sound system.
Okay.
And then in 1992, the L9A was replaced with the LT1 V8, given 300 horsepower and 300.
See, I feel like they discontinued a lot of these engines and then just kind of
brought it back.
bring them back.
Yeah, because I noticed that too when you were talking about it. I was like,
hey, I know that one.
I've seen that engine. 330 pounds of torque. In 1993, Lotus helped Chevy modify the C4 with the train exhaust system and aluminum cylinder heads to improve power and torque.
As soon as it wants to. Slow ass computer, come on. I didn't pay $800 for you to be slow.
Mm-hmm. And they had the passive keyless entry.
Ooh,
was added
keyless
to
entry.
Was added to all the models. So people were feeling fancy back then. Man.
Shit, I feel fancy when I get in a 2014 with one.
Yeah, I just realized that I've owned one car over the year 2000.
Was it the Honda?
No, the Honda was the 90.
Oh shit, was it the Hyundai?
No, it was the Senna E.
Damn, bro.
And I hated that car.
Garbage.
I mean, it brought me back home when my 1500 broke, but
rest in peace.
But I just never liked that car. I just don't like the way it looks.
Well, no shit.
The way it looks, the way you felt driving it was just bad.
The suspension was nice.
Independent suspension.
Independent suspension in all four corners.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I go for it. Anyways.
And the exhaust, or they had an exhaust recirculation system, was introduced to make controlling emissions easier. So this is probably we started making the better engines.
Okay.
Making it faster. They saw the release of the 40th anniversary C4 featuring the ruby metallic paint of ruby leather seats. Have you seen this?
Picture.
94, 96, they didn't really change that much. 94 and 95, they added the passenger airbag.
Ooh.
So now you can have somebody there.
Oh,
Get in
yeah.
accidents with.
Not die.
He'll probably die, but
not as bad. You don't die as bad.
It received a mass airflow sequential fuel injection. And in 1995, they had the second gen OptiSpark ignition system. So,
Okay. Gotcha.
96, they came out with the LT4 engine, and they added 30 more horsepower to the engine, so 230 more horsepower,
right.
Which I believe it has the same foot-pounds of torque, 330, so
even.
Pretty even. And they finally came out with the OB2 onboard diagnostic system, so you can take your car down to AutoZone so they can check it out and tell you that you need new windshield wipers. I'm sorry.
Anyone working at AutoZone? I need some windshield wipers on. What engine do you have?
Oh, God. Rear-wheel drive, all of them have that. Sorry.
We only have windshield wipers for all-wheel drive. Oh, shit.
Alright, and last but not least, they released another version of a Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport. So this one, I believe it was emerald blue.
Yeah, we'll pull up some pictures.
I'll write that down.
What?
What color?
What was it called? Grand
Sport.
Oh. Okay. What the hell is this Dodge logo they have on it?
Dodge 2 hasn't even come out yet, bro.
I swear to God, that's Dodge's logo. Alright, fair enough.
That's what that looks like.
That's not bad.
Pretty good looking car.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, I would honestly be down to get one of these cars. And this would probably be the car to travel around to see and I know. Travel the world.
Alright.
Probably
just coast to coast.
No, bro, it's got floaties too. Go to Europe.
Bet.
But,
alright.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I can get what you're saying with underrated. I mean, you look at it and it's, to me, it kind of still looks like the C3, but with a modern twist to it. Yeah. I mean, if you've seen this on the street, you wouldn't really think to look twice as compared to the C3, in my opinion.
Yeah, the C3 just has that bulgy look.
Yeah, it has the more aggressive 60s and 70s look to it.
I mean, this one didn't really have that many engine changes. No. It had two, and one of them was from the C2.
Yeah, if anything, it added more engines back because of how much those emission regulations killed off with the C3. To me, I see this as one that's restored, and it's probably just because I'm looking at the Grand Sport, but I like it. Yeah. I do like that car. Again, someone offered me, someone said, all right, throughout the 8 generations, pick one that you would want. I would have to pick the C8 still.
The C8.
Still, 100%.
Like you can just choose and it'd be free.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yep. $80,000 car.
Or you choose like any car for free would probably be the Hellcat.
Any car? That's hard. Cause I got a few cars that I want.
Like what? Cobra.
Gladiator.
Ah,
I want to do
that's
Gladiator.
a truck. That's not a car.
It's a vehicle.
We're talking about cars.
I'm talking about cars. All right, Dodge Charger, Hellcat Red Eye. That's coming out next year. 797 horsepower. Dodge, if you're listening to this for some stupid ass reason, tune in. For only the same price of an Arizona iced tea, you can help us get in touch with Dodge to tell them to add at least 3 more horsepower to the Hellcat Red Eyes. So it would be an even 800 horsepower.
We just have some stickers on there, man.
Shit, bro. Then that's 802 horsepower.
Half of the sticker.
No, because that's 800 and a half.
Damn it. There's no winning with Dodge.
Damn it. As someone who owns a Dodge.
But, yeah.
It's... I feel...
C3, C4 was... They were pretty good
Other than
the
the
engines.
the emission regulations killing off most of the engines and stuff, that's a heartbreaker.
But definitely I would like to at least drive one of the two. I could drive probably yours one of these days, but
10 years.
somebody doesn't want to fix it.
It's not
Somebody
that
doesn't have the money to fix it.
Well, I'm telling you, bro. Okay, so if you hit subscribe and you like this, I get half of the proceeds if it ever makes money. So with the money for this, you can help me make the Corvette great again.
We can make videos with it. Yeah. We'll start recording in the Corvette.
What do you mean? By the time that thing is running, we're going to be done with this series. We only have 2 more episodes. Dang. Damn, that's all you gotta say. Dang. But put down in the comments what car you'd like to see after this Corvette series, because just name a car right now that you want to do.
We can honestly go do the Mustang.
Mustang.
We do Challenger, Charger.
Well, I'd like to probably do some of the more iconic muscle cars first.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like what you're saying, the Charger, Challenger, the Camaro, Mustang.
Charger still considered a muscle car?
I mean, the Durango is considered a muscle SUV.
Sorry, Dodge.
Hey, don't fuck with them, bro. They'll fucking ban our channel.
I love you, Dodge.
Love you, Dodge. Papa Chrysler. Please don't do this to me. I hate you.
Alright, well, yeah, if you guys want to comment.
Anything that we missed.
Anything that we missed, anything that that you want to see in later episodes or something like that, go ahead and comment down there. We'll leave the link of our Instagram on there for Gearheads, so you can message us through there too.
Along with our personal channels.
Yes.
Yes. So, anyways, this is about it for this episode. So this is Sean.
This is Luis.
And this has been Gearheads.